Hello dieters, my name is Jenny and I'm coming to you with an update on the hCG diet. I am on round 2, phase 2, and day number 8. Now to recap, if you watched yesterday's video, you would know that I had a happy weight loss day yesterday. Was nervous though because I knew I was going down to the Amish country, land of butter and lard, and spending the whole day down there with my son, doing all kinds of hay mazes and activities and little bit of shopping. Not much. He's a teenage boy. He basically shopped for sweets. I got some spices and things, and had a great meal where we every year go during the harvest season. When you're in driving distance to the Amish country, you go every year. So it's a privilege. So fed some ducks, had a good time. More than anything, I had a wonderful conversation with my son. I even said to him at the end of the day, I think you spoke more to me today than you have the whole year put together. Honest to God truth. So that was priceless to me. All right, so my biggest concern going into this was, of course, approaching the Amish country. I typically, what we always also do is when we're in our little Amish store of like little bulk foods and that, we always get everyone picks their own little baggie of sweet treat to eat in the car on the way home after our dinner. Did not get a sweet treat. When I was in that little grocery store, I only bought some individual spices in a container that I could use for cooking. Some seasoning spices to put on my fish and chicken as I prepare it for this diet. And I chose the salad bar. And the salad bar is all you can eat, but I realized that there is an option, which I never saw before, but maybe it's new, where you can say, I'm just going to get one plate full of food. So I did the one plate price. I'm not going to go back up and get more. So that was good. I did not have any of the soups that were on the side because I know that those were just loaded with all kinds of stuff. And I had no bread. All very good. Here's where I didn't do great. I did put meats on it. This was going to be my only food for the day. So I typically figured that I do have about roughly 8 ounces. Well, we'll talk about that later. I roughly had about 8 ounces worth of meat that I could be having. So, of course, they had no chicken or poultry, obviously, or any type of healthy meats that were on the buffet. So there was a little bit of ham and a little bit of bacon and a little bit of pepperoni on my salad. So meats, and by a little bit, probably not a little bit, but between 4 and 8 ounces worth of these meats on there. And then I had lots of veggies there as well. I did also add a little bit of egg. So I probably had in the end, the right weights of everything. But in hindsight, when I try to think of how many calories that salad was that I put into my body, considerably over 500 calories. So this morning was weighing, and I gained. But I gained 0.1. So that's good. The last time I fell off the wagon was on day 6 of my first round, and I gained a pound from eating a chicken wrap the day before. So 0.1 makes me very happy compared to a pound. Now, I also want to point out that last time, for some reason, after gaining that pound, it did something to my whole body, chemistry, metabolism, composition, whatever, so that the next 2 days, I also had a gain. So I gained a pound the first day, then I gained another 0.1, then I gained another 0.1 before I started losing. And I really was 5 days in before I was back to where my weight was before having that chicken wrap. So one chicken wrap basically lost me a week on the diet. To point out to you, it's not worth it to cheat. Not worth it to cheat. So hopefully this kind of cheat, I mean, as I wasn't eating it and that, I was thinking, I feel like this is kind of a cheat. I was enjoying it. It wasn't like it was so amazing that I'm like, oh, this is worth any cheat that I have, but it was good and it was something different, because these are meats that I don't typically eat on the diet because of their higher fat content. So we'll see what happens in the next day or two, because as history shows, the next day additional weight gains took a while for my body to kind of compensate and all that. So we'll see. I don't know. I am sure that there was a higher sodium and salt content in the meats that they prepared. Well, the pepperoni's the pepperoni, but the ham was like diced up ham. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about what exactly you're supposed to be eating. Isn't it ironic that I'm going to talk about this today when I just told you how poorly I ate? Lord, I probably should have a different topic today, but I'll do it anyway. Here we go. Do as I say, not as I do, right? All right. So interestingly, when I went back to the protocol, I was always under the impression that you were supposed to eat 4 ounces of food at each meal. But I look at it and it says 3.5 ounces. Oh, which is 100 grams. So that's a little different. So if you're putting it all together, you don't have 8 ounces of meat that you're supposed to be eating. You're only having 7 ounces of meat that you're supposed to be having. And again, according to the protocol, you're not supposed to be putting it all together. You're supposed to be having it in 2 separate meals. But I am choosing to do intermittent fasting as part of this diet as well. Just works for me. That's a whole separate video as to why I'm doing that, but that works for me. Okay, so you can have beef. That is acceptable, but it has to be extremely lean. You have to find the leanest beef you can. If you can find 97, 98% lean, that's ideal. It does need to be more than 5%. All right, so very, very lean beef can be one of your choices that you can have for your protein. Obviously, chicken and fish are acceptable, but your fish have to be white fish. You're not supposed to have the salmon. Again, do as I say, not as I do on round 1. Round 1, I was having salmon as part of my diet. No salmon. White fish only. Your cod and catfish and tilapia and halibut. What else is there? Sole. All those good, yummy white fish options are all acceptable. Of course, it's just the pure plank. That goes without saying. You're not going to have any of the skin. It's just going to be the meat part of the fish. All right. Also, lobster, crab, and fish are Lobster, crab, and shrimp are acceptable on this diet as well as part of your proteins. Now, Dr. Simions says on occasion, if you need to change it up, or for whatever reason your taste buds are craving something different, you can go ahead and for one of your proteins at one point of the day, you can have 1 egg with 3 egg whites. So like you can make up a scrambled egg for yourself with some vegetables. I would make almost like a, chop it up and stir them in, like almost like a little stir fry frittata or something in a pan. So that's okay, but you're not supposed to do it. I don't remember if he said exactly every how many days, but it's not something you're supposed to be having every day, that I do know. So it's something to change it all up a little bit. Okay. Now, vegetables that are okay, most of them I don't eat. And I haven't even really ever heard of some of them, which is possibly embarrassing should be embarrassing to most people, but it is. All right, so what is acceptable is definitely lettuce, which is what I have every day. So I'm good there. You can have asparagus also, which is delicious. So asparagus is okay. Celery, of course, which has no calories in it. So eat away at that. Cucumbers are okay. Mostly water in those. So you can have those. You can also have I think all the lettuces are acceptable. Spinach is okay, but to me, spinach is almost the same as lettuce in my brain. Everything that's leafy and green like that to me falls under the same category. And I believe the most recent thing I saw is that you can also have tomatoes. So there you go. If you want to have a tomato, that's acceptable too. Which makes sense because on the steak day, you're allowed to have a tomato too. It's an acceptable vegetable. Okay, so those are the choices that you have on Dr. Simions' protocol in terms of which proteins you can choose from, or which vegetables, I apologize, you can have from in a given day. Now, you're also allowed to have the fruit. What is a fruit serving? That's another thing. Like, what is a fruit serving? What size apple can you have? Well, it's supposed to be a medium-sized apple. So interpret that as you will. So 1 full apple is considered a serving of fruit. A half of a grapefruit is considered a serving of fruit. 1 handful of strawberries would be considered also, or 1 orange. So 1 apple or 1 orange, half a grapefruit, handful of strawberries. We've moved on from that a little bit and accept all basically red berries as part of that, or dark berries. But the original protocol, which is what I'm talking about now, it just said strawberries. All right, then your only carbohydrate that you were allowed to have was either Melba toast or a grissini stick. Some of the grissini sticks are made with oil, so you should be monitoring the packages to make sure if you choose grissini stick, that you choose the one that does not have oil. All right. Now, additional things that are on there are, he said that you could have erythritol. You can have basically any sugar-free sweeteners. I think it was erythritol. I'm trying to remember. I get all my mixed up. Anyway, whichever one was the popular one back in the time in the 1960s is the one that he said you could go ahead and have on that. Well, since then, we've come a long way, haven't we? And stevia is a really good, more natural alternative. So any of the artificial sweeteners really are okay on this diet. Like anything, you should be using things in moderation, but I don't. And he didn't say, or did he? I think he did. Say when you need it. Yeah, I just happen to need it a lot. So that would imply that maybe if you didn't use it as much, you might even be doing better. It may be triggering things. We know that does. My understanding is a lot of it triggers in your brain that you want to eat carbs. So as long as it's not triggering in you that you want to eat more carbs and making the diet more difficult, then in my interpretation, go ahead and have whatever artificial sweeteners you need to get through and make this so that it's not a torturous diet, because it's not supposed to be. All right, what spices can you have on the diet? You basically can have any spices as long as it's not a spice mix that also contains some sugar in it. So pay attention to that. A lot of the spice mixes, I know Lowry's seasoning salt has a lot of sugar in it. So just look at the ingredients and make sure that it is just spices or just salt that's included in there. All right. And yeah, that's everything. That's the protocol. So now you know what you can eat for your carb, your 2 choices, what your fruits, your 4 choices. Your proteins and your vegetables, you have a little bit more options there. You can also, in terms of fruit, he did mention that you could also have a lemon a day, because a lemon isn't going to add any caloric anything. So if you're having water and you want to turn it into lemon water, you can. What I did the first time on the diet, and I haven't done it this time, but maybe I should, because I did enjoy it. I was closer to summer when I did it the first time. And by first time, I mean a few years ago, not my first round this time, but years ago. I would get, I think it's called lemon something, and it's crystallized lemon in little packets that you can buy. So you buy a box of them in the local grocery store, and the ingredients, when I looked at the ingredients on, it's literally just crystallized lemon, nothing else. So I take those packets of lemon and I'll sprinkle it in the water, because I don't know, lemons go bad over time, and it's just, it just seems like a lot of waste. Also, all that leftover lemon, when you squeeze the lemon out, what's all left. So I like to just get the little lemon packets, and then I'll add a little stevia to that, and I'll make myself a delicious lemonade. And then, as I mentioned, I did it in the summer. That's usually, I don't tend to like to drink lemonade in the wintertime. It's a very summertime drink. But another thing you can do is just get a whole bunch of crushed ice in a blender and add that both to it, so that you make yourself a lemonade smoothie. And that's a delicious treat with 0 calories and acceptable on this protocol because the lemon a day is acceptable. All right, so that is everything that Dr. Simions said that you can have on this diet. Tomorrow I'll come back and talk a little bit about over the years as things have changed, and I did address it a little bit today with the artificial sweeteners, how you can deviate some of that too. Some of the vegetables that a lot of the researchers have been saying, you know what, this isn't going to make a difference either. We know more now than we did then. But it's not a whole lot, so don't get yourself too stoked. His protocol pretty much stands. But there are a few things, as I mentioned, with berries that go beyond strawberries that you can have, and a few other proteins and a few other vegetables as well. All right, you have a wonderful day. Here's to a happy diet weight loss success for you. Tune in tomorrow to see if I had another weight gain as a result of yesterday's salad in the Amish country. We'll see. All right, happy day to all of you. Goodbye.